counterintelligence resources have been concentrated overwhelmingly within the United States. 90% of what the U.S. government spends on counterintelligence, all of our programs, activities, personnel, all that represents are here in the United States. Much like the U.S. used to think about dealing with terrorist organizations, which is to say waiting until the problem manifests itself here, we faulted our counterintelligence thinking because we were waiting for the adversary to bring the challenges into our own backyard. Why do that? The reorientation that strategy would have imposed on U.S. counterintelligence is to think proactively and to go after and engage the adversary abroad and not wait until the threat is here within the United States. The central purpose of a proactive strategic counterintelligence capability is to degrade foreign intelligence threats, foreign intelligence services, and their abilities to work against us. To prioritize and support our national security objectives, prioritize these operations to support our national security objectives by exploiting where we can and interdicting where we must. The central approach is to develop what I would call an order of battle, an analysis of the foreign intelligence service, where they operate, how they recruit their people, how they train their people, how they're tasked, the locus of operations against us, the liaison relationships, everything that one needs to understand about a service to be able to cull from that its vulnerabilities, and to conduct then strategic operational planning, redirect or reallocate U.S. collection and operations against this now understood target based upon our capabilities and opportunities. And then to integrate and orchestrate these CI resources to achieve our strategic objectives. Perhaps, as you can tell from this truncated explanation of what strategic CI is all about, the strategic counterintelligence mission requires new capabilities that are beyond the reach of any one agency to be able to fulfill. The Commission on Weapons of Mass Destruction was chaired by Messrs. Silverman and Robb, was asked to look at the problems of the Iraq War and the intelligence failures in the Iraq War. And among the things, the important things this commission was asked to do was to provide a recommended blueprint for the new office, the Director of National Intelligence, the new architecture of the U.S. intelligence community. The commission, as part of its work, specifically looked at U.S. counterintelligence. And it consolidated its recommendations on counterintelligence in Chapter 11 of its report. Chapter 11 might have been a moment, but Chapter 11 of its report. The Commission revalidated the importance of strategic counterintelligence capability, which I have just described to you. And it determined that the powers and authorities of my office, the NCIX, National Counterintelligence Executive, that those powers were inadequate to the task assigned. They called it window dressing. And it recommended, the Commission report recommended, that the new Director of National Intelligence should fully empower the NCIX by delegating his authorities over counterintelligence budgets and collection and analysis to the NCIX. And my office was moved under that of the Director of National Intelligence. The Commission also recommended that specific new capabilities should be established at the FBI, the CIA, and the Defense Department to support proactive strategic counterintelligence capability for the nation. Given this report, what did the Director of National Intelligence do? Well, First, the Director of National Intelligence Office had to be resourced and established and structured. And so the DNI, as the head of U.S. counterintelligence, is called. The DNI established line deputies for management, analysis, collection, and policy. And having established these line deputies, he then delegated responsibility for counterintelligence budgets, counterintelligence analysis, counterintelligence collection, counterintelligence policy authorities to each of his line deputies, and not to the NCIX. He did name the NCIX the mission manager. The term of art has become known, the mission manager for counterintelligence, which is defined by executive order as his principal advisor on counterintelligence. The cumulative effect of these decisions, I fear, that the head of counterintelligence now exists in name only. The duties of the NCIX have been limited principally to an advisory role, and several CI organizations find that they are taking guidance from the several DNI deputies. In my view, the prospects for coherence and strategic integration of U.S. counterintelligence have declined. And I fear that we will have a growing vulnerability to foreign intelligence threats until this is remedied. Across the government, our counterintelligence capabilities are in decay. We cannot get ahead, seemingly, of losing count. Now, this is not the outcome that the Director of National Intelligence, either Ambassador Negroponte or Admiral McConnell, would want. And do not believe for a moment that this is the outcome that they would want. So why did the DNI take these actions? Why did he not follow the recommendations of the commission? I think at the heart of this decision is a lack of consensus behind the purpose and value of a strategic counterintelligence capability, as I have briefly described it to you. And that lack of consensus about what is strategic counterintelligence has itself led to confusion and disagreement over the core mission of the NCIX. Here's the issue. What are we trying to achieve? It's the central goal of trying to unify our counterintelligence capabilities to establish a new national capability to execute coordinated strategic CI operations? Or are we trying to become more efficient at performing the standing missions of the several counterintelligence agencies? Now, as I see it, the first goal would be transformational. A genuine strategic counterintelligence capability would have value in its own right as a tool of national security planning and execution. It would also serve as the driver by which all U.S. counterintelligence activities would be enhanced, given the inherent tactical advantages of strategic dominance. And for the future, I believe that avoiding strategic CI failure will require more than simply doing more of the same. But what if the mission of the NCIX is simply to help improve the efficiency of the existing counterintelligence agencies, as the DNI's decisions seem to imply? It seems to me that that goal could well be illusory, because it assumes that adding another layer of bureaucracy can supply the means for increasing efficiency. I think that is a risky proposition at best. So 7 years after the NCIX office was created, I am sorry to report that no single entity has a complete picture to provide warning of possible intelligence successes, to support our operations, or to formulate policy options for the President and his national security leaders. We still know surprisingly little about adversary foreign intelligence services relative to the harm they can do, or relative to the insights to be gained by analyzing the distinctive ways in which they operate and the different purposes that they serve. U.S. capabilities to disrupt, degrade, or exploit intelligence operations of potential adversaries remain inadequate to answer that call.